The Red Bull RB19 dominated 2023, but a rival team claims it now knows what the Milton Keynes-based team accomplished with its design secrets. Thus, Red Bull's design secrets are no longer a secret after 2 seasons, and this could now result in us seeing 20 look-alike cars on the grid next month. Could we be in for a great season or another domination? The Red Bull RB19 became F1's most dominating vehicle history, with 21 race victories from 22 races, surpassing the victory percent of the 1988 McLaren MP4/4, which won 15 of 16 races. As the current ground effect restrictions enter their 3rd year, design convergence is beginning, and Alpine claims to have worked out what Red Bull was up to with the RB19 and why it was so strong. Will copying a successful design be F1's biggest problem for 2024? While several of the teams are expected to adopt elements or chunks of Red Bull's RB19 design into their 2024 cars, Alpine's technical director Matt Harmon has stated that the Enston-based team is not going in that path. Harmon, on the other hand, noted that while rigorous investigation and inspection of what they could learn about the RB19 gave a strong knowledge of what the world champions accomplished with the machine, just replicating the design would not work for them. "We think we've understood it, RB19, quite well," he said. "We think we understand what they're doing. You can't click your fingers and just imagine it overnight. We understand our direction, but I think we've also understood some of the other cars on the grid as well. There are some other great cars there as well that have got some really interesting developments. And it's about trying to understand what you're doing, what they're doing. In the end, if we just follow those people, we will never be in front of them. I think it's a real mantra for us that we need to be inspired by these people, but we need to follow our own way." With Alpine deferring several 2023 advancements, including a floor upgrade, in order to incorporate them into the 2024 design, Harmon said the Alpine A523 provided us a great basic platform to build from this season. "I think there's some really nice things on our car," he said. "We're trying to be humble about these things. We know we're not quite where we want to be, and we'd like to talk about what we need to get better at, not what we think we're good at. I'd rather just focus on what we need to do better, to be honest, rather than show off about what we think we might have done well at." Red Bull technical director Pierre Wache addressed the matter and said that while copying is possible, teams who do so without thoroughly grasping the reasoning behind every part will not reap the full rewards, according to him. Of course, following Red Bull's entire dominance of F1 in 2023, it is expected that its opponents would converge on the concept that the Milton Keynes-based team has used so well since the start of the latest ground effect era. In theory, this could result in a much closer battle throughout the 2024 season, given many of its key competition made mistakes with their car designs previous year. But will it be enough to just copy Red Bull? Will the other drivers even be able to handle a car with those characteristics? After all, Perez can't do so will the other 18 driver be able to do it? Well, the people at Red Bull think they'll have a hard time if they just copy them. Red Bull technical director Pierre Wache believes that other teams will need to go beyond simply replicating what his team has done. He believes that getting to the bottom of why it has done things the way it has is more essential than unlocking speed. "I think it's possible to copy, but in every business in the world, when it's technical, the how is one aspect," he said. "The most important aspect is why. If you don't know why, you can copy whatever you want, but it's better to stay with what you understand." Wache stated that replicating other teams' ideas was frequent in F1 and something his team did on occasion. While this allowed you to possibly make progress with your own car, there were no guarantees that what worked for a rival would benefit others. "We also copy some stuff," he said. "We might copy the wrong thing, but you also inspire yourself based on what you see from others. It's like a Darwin effect, this business. You see something from others, you add another idea to it, and you develop and you grow your concept, your strengths, and your capacity. But every time it has to be on the understanding aspect. If you just copy for copying's sake, it doesn't work. You need to have the knowledge and also what you want to achieve. If you don't have the same golden aim of characteristics, it doesn't bring anything." Wache also believes that labeling last year's RB19 as a perfect car is incorrect, stating that there were aspects of it that needed to be improved. While it won 21 of the 22 races throughout the season, he is apparent that performance in Formula 1 is comparable to others. "You can have the same car and the others do a better job than you," he went on to say. "We put everything together. The car has some weaknesses, but not a big one. It's quite efficient in terms of downforce versus drag. That's clearly a key, and also it's quite gentle on tyres for the race pace. That, I think, is one of the key elements, because if you look at qualifying, we didn't do all the poles. We just won all the races, bar one. The dominance also depends on what the others did. Maybe the others made some mistakes to develop their car, because when you see the level of development that McLaren put together during the season, and the capacity they have to be closer to us with quite a bad start to the season, you say maybe the others didn't put the car together, he added. Dominance is very dependent also on the others, I would say. I don't want to put pressure on the others. We did a good job, but we have plenty of room for improvement, I would say. Even though they have some more room for improvement, it will be tough, especially as the current rule set is thought to be one of the strictest and hardest to develop on. Mercedes technical director James Allison believes that the current ground effect car's super stiff low ride height specifications are not great for Formula 1. F1 converted to a ground effect regulations concept before the start of the 2022 season as part of Grand Prix Racing's boss's quest to enhance overtaking. However, due to the design of the cars, they create their maximum downforce close to the ground, forcing teams to run them as low as possible and with ultra-stiff suspension settings. This has squeezed teams into a corner with difficult-to-manage setups, leaving drivers racing in cars that aren't much fun. Speaking about the difference between the old rules set and this one, Allison said, "You guys, the media, used to carry on endlessly about high-rake, low-rake cars as if that was the beginning, end and middle of everything. A high-rake car was around 140 mm rear ride height. A low-rake car would be like 120 mm or whatever. Well, both of them are stratospheric ranges compared with these cars. These are all cars that are setting off in the 60 mph. There might be a few millimeters of difference between them, but they're all just on the ground." Allison believes that the existing car's tight operating window limits teams and engineers in terms of what they can achieve. Speaking about the difference to the previous rules set, Allison said, "Well, you could have a car that was a little bit more one-dimensional at tracks that are a bit more one-dimensional. So if there isn't a big speed range, then you could maybe set your car up such that the corners coincide with where your good bit is, and you don't suffer horribly for it dropping away either side. But when you go to a place that's a bit more of a broad test of a car, like Austin for example, where you've got real fast stuff, some slow stuff and some in between stuff and some decent straights and some bumps, then that's going to test the bit where it's falling off the back end of the performance. It's going to test the end of straight downforce failure. It's going to need to stay strong in the fast corners. And it's hard to persuade the car to do all of those things with a set of rules that basically don't want to do anything except be near the ground." Allison stated that it was a scenario that he did not particularly appreciate, and he believes that even someone who is now experiencing success, such as world champion Max Verstappen, is not particularly pleased. "I'm sure I bang on about this because it's been a bugbear of mine, but I personally don't think it's a great thing. I don't think it's good having the cars operating when they leave the garage with that much space to the ground," he said, signaling a few millimeters with his fingers. "You get the person who's winning the championship by one of the biggest margins ever and has every reason to love his car to bits, and I doubt he'll tell you it's a lovely thing. It is not like it was a couple of years ago. What are your thoughts? Have F1 messed up with the current rule set? And could you see other teams blatantly copying Red Bull's design to catch up? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below."